Max, we were trying to get on your Pirate My Film site. It's crashed. So a lot of the listeners are checking that out.
Well, it's in beta. So, I figured it would crash. It's in beta, so sorry about that. But, it's going to, as I said, the point is that people can, it's the pirate futures market. You can raise money for independent films, and you can do so by sharing the revenues of pirate sales, as we were just talking about, with the people who are helping you finance the film. So you're bypassing Hollywood. Hollywood is another monopoly in America that is not doing anybody any good.
Yeah, the only problem with your model is all these weasels out there will say they're part of your film now. That's why I couldn't be part of something like that, at least in your early stages, because people would come invest in it just to claim they had a stake in it to mess it up. I mean, have you ever dealt with infiltration, Max?
Oh, yeah, but let me explain something to you. First of all, these are not investments, okay? People are pre-buying a copy. They are pre-buying a copy. So anyone who wants to buy a copy is giving you the order to buy the copy and giving you the money for the copy today, okay? So they're going to get a copy of the film. So it's like going to Amazon and getting something. Now, the fact is you can share as part of the revenues with those people who pre-bought a copy, but they're not obligated to. You have the option to, and their expectation is that they may get nothing. So this is not an investment. It's not an SEC-regulated investment. It's like you buy a pack of cigarettes and you get a coupon, and the coupon might be worth something. Here, you pre-buy a copy of your film, and you're going to give them a coupon.
So it's almost like a political action or supporting alternative film outside the existing corporate model. Now I understand what you're doing. That makes a lot of sense. Very good idea, Max. Okay, in the few minutes we've got left with you, briefly, because I respect your opinion on this, what do you see happening in the next month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year with the economy as people see that Main Street is still collapsing at an accelerated rate while the media says green shoots, Valhalla, stock market up? I mean, where do you see this going?
The deleveraging is the word to keep in mind. Deleveraging is the term used to describe banks that need to get rid of their bad assets. And the banks have many, many more trillions of dollars worth of bad assets than the trillions of dollars that the government is throwing at the banks. Now, in 2008, for example, you had a lot of people on your show who talked about inflation because they said that the government was going to throw trillions and trillions of dollars at these bad banks, and that trillion of dollars was going to enter the economy in the form of price inflation. Well, it didn't happen. Why? Because the amount of trillions of dollars that have been thrown at the banks is not as great as the many, many trillions of dollars of bad, toxic debts that have yet to be revealed. The net result of that is actually, in 2008, had been deflation, shockingly enough. The good news about deflation, by the way, is that gold bullion does well in both deflation and inflation. It does well during extreme economic stress periods, and that's the play for gold bullion. Forget about gold bullion as terms of an inflation play or deflation play. Think about it in terms of an economic systemic banking failure play, and that is yet to be played out. The banking sector has yet to collapse due to the implosion of hundreds of trillions of dollars of derivatives and bad debts. And the fact that simply by Obama putting a few Band-Aids over the situation, the cash for clunkers scheme, all that does is defer the problem. People who owned a car outright for cash now have a monthly car payment. So all they did was increase the debt. They try to solve debt by increasing the debt. So the debt payment is still very high. The global creditors are still, looking to America. I think the trend for Americans is that they have to understand that the U.S. government is forced to sell off more and more of the American infrastructure, tolls, roads, as you find in Texas, that you talked about in your show, ports, and other vital infrastructure has to be sold to foreigners to forgive the debt, which means that the Americans are going to be living in a country that they themselves do not own.
But then meanwhile, Centra came in through its Zachary Australian arm and bought up over 100, it was 144, local newspapers on the Trans-Texas Corridor routes to shut them down from criticizing. That's how much money they've got. They spent hundreds of millions doing that, buying all these little papers. And then they have the Austin Chronicle write hoax articles saying it's not Spanish-owned.
The policies for media are, again, written by the media industry. Here's a hot button topic for you. This hot button topic is how was it described? What was it called? Not equal access, but there was a law for a while ago, balance access or equal access. You probably know the phrase. What I'm trying to think of. It's when both, they got rid of it under Reagan. When both sides were given the chance to comment on a topic, and then what's it called? I forget what it is. But Reagan got rid of this because basically he's kowtowing to the media industry. And let me make another point. How come you're not getting subsidies and payments from guys like Glenn Beck, who simply take your emotion that you have demonstrated you can have on a public media platform and then use it to sell his agenda? He should be paying you a monthly residual on basically what you pioneered, which is this very on the sleeve, overt, emotional type of presentation that Glenn Beck simply has stolen, and he uses it to put forward the Fox News agenda. That's outrageous. He should be paying you every month. He should be paying all your light bills, all your parking bills. Glenn Beck should be paying you, Alex Jones, because he's a fake copy. He's a moron.
Well, I'll tell you this in closing, Max, and I can't wait to get you back up with us and also be on your new TV show, that I have talked to people at Fox, and they admit that they are imitating us, they are copying us. On their internet shows, they're even using the same video backgrounds we use. It's very bizarre. And Beck does do a copy of me, but then he twists it.
Exactly, because they, in other words, you pioneered this entire space of user-supported films and documentaries that go on the internet. Now everybody's doing it. You invented it. You have a way of doing your show, which Glenn Beck tries to imitate, but push the Fox agenda, which is completely dubious and false and counter to what you're talking about.
They even use the same video filter for guests that we first used. It's actually scary.
Glenn Beck for defamation or from ripping you off, from trying to clone you. The guys should be paying you cloning fees every month. The Fox News, why don't they get their own shows and their own presenters? Why do they have to rip off Alex Jones? Murdoch doesn't have any money. He can't hire regular presenters. He can't hire real talent. He's got to hire these bozos. It's shocking. And Jesse Ventura, let's face it, his new show, it's going to be a great show, I'm sure, but who pioneered the way for that show? Alex Jones. You're redefining media in America. And, the mainstream media keeps saying, it's not going to work.
Well, Max, you don't know how right you are. I was talking to Ventura about 6 months ago. No, it was almost a year ago. It was last October when he was here. And he said, yeah, I'm doing a new show called American Conspiracy. And then on air, I said, that's funny, Jesse. Watch this. And I showed him the trailer for the TV show that was pitched 2 years before for me, called American Conspiracy. So they changed the name. He didn't know that. He didn't know he'd been pitched my show. They pitched him a new show, and they changed the name to Conspiracy Theory, and now they have changed it the way Jesse had the idea of he'll go out and judge conspiracy theories. So it's not really, but the zenith of it was that. And that's what's scary, is to realize that I have trailblazed and pioneered unknowingly so much of what's happened, but you've also pioneered a lot of media activism and ideas in your own right. And I think that's a message to everybody else that they can pioneer new ideas and new thoughts by just getting out there and doing it.
Yeah, well, the pioneers are the ones with the arrows in their back. The pioneers, they go across the country and they open it up to trailblazers for the rest of the country. They're the ones that get the arrows in the back. They're the ones that die on the trail, And then the people who come later say, this is great. What a fantastic trail. But unfortunately, as a pioneer, I have no choice, and I just can't stay static and watch these lame mimics and clowns and ne'er-do-wells over there at Fox News and these other media outlets continue to rip people off and serve it up with their monopoly pricing schemes, and they infiltrate the news. They don't give any kind of balanced reporting whatsoever. They are as responsible for the health catastrophe and the war catastrophe and the banking catastrophe as CNBC has got to be held responsible. James Cramer has got to be held responsible. This guy is a financial terrorist. James Cramer. Think of all the money he's blown out of people's accounts, going on TV every day, dancing. And when I was a stockbroker in 1982, it was illegal to put a color photograph in a prospectus because they thought it was too enticing. Here we are in 2009, and James Cramer's practically doing a striptease on a strip pole, showing a little thigh. and doing his little come-on dance. It's, where's the Christian right about that? James Cramer is like, it looks like he's...
Well, no, he gets you all emotional, and it's mad money, but it's like it's Crazy Eddie or something. But let me ask you this in closing, and then we've got Wayne Madsen coming up with some breaking news on the CIA, always breaking big news. When do you see the sucker rally ending, then, if it is a sucker rally?